Long before the chains of mental enslavement bound our hearts, minds, and spirits, we were a divine people, radiant with celestial harmony. We existed not as fractured beings divided by race, class, or status, but as one unified family interwoven by the sacred threads of love, wisdom, and mutual reverence. Each soul carried the divine spark, and in our original order, we uplifted one another with admiration, compassion, and deep understanding. Our existence was a testament to balance, a sacred dance between the heavens and the earth, where our architecture and our earthworks stood as timeless monuments of our ingenuity, aligned with the cosmic principles. We lived as stewards of the land, consuming only what nourished the temple of our bodies, breathing in the life-giving prana of the universe, and dwelling in harmony with creation itself. Yet our trusting nature became the doorway through which deception crept in. We, the architectures of harmony, welcomed the imposter with open arms, unable to fathom the depths of treachery they harbored. These foreign invaders, bearing the guise of friendship, studied our ways, our strengths, and our vulnerabilities, waiting for the perfect storm, a celestial epoch in a series of catastrophic events to bring devastation upon us. In that moment of fragility, they struck, seizing dominion over a weakened people, dismantling the intricate structures of our civilization and rewriting our legacy in their own image. The erasure was swift and ruthless. Entire histories were burned, languages silenced, and traditions outlawed. What once was a vibrant, self-sustaining culture was now thrust into the abyss of bondage and oppression. A realm-wide manhunt for the indigenous rebellion was in full operation. The guardians of our truth were swiftly disposed of, their defiance met with imprisonment in asylums where their wisdom was cast as madness. Their children, stolen from their ancestral homes, forced into orphanages where they were stripped of their identity and blended with beings foreign to the natural order. The lineage of the original man was diluted, his bloodline tampered with, his story rewritten, and the invaders took every inch they could get. These colonizers, now the self-proclaimed rulers of this stolen realm, wrote a false history, a glorified script designed to convince the children of the Most High that they were nothing more than a meaningless accident, a flickering speck in the vastness of an indifferent cosmos. They poisoned not only the body but the mind, feeding generation after generation with lies so ridiculous that even the descendants of the ancient ones forgot their birthright. The wisdom of the ancestors, the sacred knowledge of energy, frequency, and divine alignment, was cast aside and replaced with hollow doctrines and mechanized beliefs that served only to perpetuate enslavement. The world, once an open book of mysteries waiting to be explored, was reduced to a mundane, suffocating illusion where true power was hidden behind veils of deception. The child of the Most High, once the radiant center of the universe, was now shackled in the chains of a digital prison, identified not by divine purpose, but by a number, a statistic in an artificial construct that sought to erase all memory of its grandeur. But the spirit, though buried, is not immune to the weight of time. The echoes of our past grow fainter with each generation, drowned beneath the ceaseless noise of the artificial world. The knowledge that once pulsed through our veins now lies dormant, buried beneath layers of conditioning so thick that most will never even sense what has been lost. The stars, once our guides, now go unnoticed, their messages ignored in favor of flickering screens and whispered lies. What remains of our former glory has been scattered, fragmented into forgotten myths and ridiculed as fantasy. The children of the Most High have become just spectators in their own demise, blind to the prison that encases them, obedient to the very system that stole their essence. The forces that orchestrated this downfall has ensured that there is no simple path to redemption. The few who sense the cracks in the illusion find themselves isolated, their voices drowned out by the overwhelming tide of deception. Truth has been twisted into conspiracy, knowledge reduced to meaningless data, and the idea of liberation turned into a fool's dream. Every avenue of escape is carefully guarded, and those who dare to seek out the remnants of their inheritance are met with walls too high to climb. The chains of subjugation are no longer iron and steel, but something far more insidious. Comfort, convenience, and the slow erosion of will. A people who once reached for the stars now bow to the weight of their own ignorance, kept in check by their own hand, and so the cycle continues. Each new generation drifts further from the source, further from the truth of what we were meant to be. The oppressors no longer need to enforce their rule. The captives police themselves, ensuring that no one dares to question. No one dares to remember. What was once a grand symphony of celestial harmony has been reduced to a discordant hum. Background noise in a world that no longer recognizes its own decay. The architects of the past have been reduced to forgotten shadows, their legacy rewritten, their descendants left to wander without purpose. The stars still shine, but they shine upon a people who no longer know how to look up. What must one do to spark a remembrance within you? The very essence of our being was embedded in these marvels, an untainted expression of our lineage, our overstanding, and our sovereign right to shape the land that cradled us. But what we birthed in purity and knowledge, the invaders defiled in deception and theft. These usurpers, incapable of creation, sought instead to possess what was never theirs, erasing our names from our own masterpieces and claiming dominion over the legacy they could never hope to replicate. With calculated malice, chiseling away our inscriptions, plastering their fraudulent origins over the very stones that bore our fingerprints. They dared to rename what had already been christened by the divine, placing false cornerstones where our foundations once stood, inscribing their deceit into history as though their feeble lies could overwrite the truth. They declared our works to be discoveries rather than inheritances, as though these towering marvels had just lain in wait for their arrival, abandoned by a people who had long since vanished. They twisted the narrative, warping the perception of time itself, assigning absurd timelines to structures whose grandeur defied their crude measurements. They fed the masses hollow explanations, claimed that these masterpieces so clearly designed for celestial alignment and harmonic resonance were little more than burial sites, fortresses, or crude places of sacrifice. The arrogance of their deception knew no bounds. They asked us to believe that these breathtaking feats of architecture, with their impossible precision and mathematical perfection, were erected in laughably short spans of time, using methods that even the most rudimentary examination would expose as impossibilities. Their narratives reeked of desperation, constructed not for the pursuing of truth, but for the perpetuation of their dominion. And when even their most elaborate lies cannot pacify the questioning mind, they resorted to destruction, toppling what they could not convincingly claim, reducing our history to rubble in an effort to erase any trace of their fraudulence. The cover-up was methodical, ruthless, and relentless. They demolished entire legacies under the guise of urbanization, war, and natural disaster, ensuring that what remained of our sacred works was either assimilated into a counterfeit history or obliterated beyond recognition. In just decades, they buried what had stood for millennia, reducing temples of wisdom to dust and monuments of enlightenment to whispers on the wind. The few structures that survived their purge were left in disrepair, abandoned as enigmatic relics of a so-called lost civilization rather than honored as a lifeblood of our enduring presence. They created an illusion of progress while standing upon the bones of our stolen past, rewriting history to serve their dominion, convincing the world that their reign had always been, that their words were truth, and that we were nothing more than a forgotten anomaly. But the stones remember. Beneath the facades, beneath the false inscriptions and the desecrated walls, the original frequencies still pulse, carrying the memory of who we were, waiting for eyes unclouded by indoctrination to see it once more. And though they have silenced our voices in the pages of their rewritten his story, the echoes of our true story refuse to fade. The structures they claimed, the cities they built atop our ruins, The very ground they walk upon, it all remains, a testament to their greatest fear, that one day the veil will shatter and the brilliance they sought to erase will illuminate the world once more. In Lakesh.